Welcome to a new episode of the Success Great podcast. You are going to love this one. Brian Winch grew a side hustle Cleanlots in 1981 into a successful business he still operates till this day. He started with only $200 and now it's a six-figure business. Brian calls it America's simplest business. Right, Brian?
That's right.
So, how are you, Brian, today? Are you okay?
Very good. How are you?
Awesome. I'm great and great to have you today. So Brian, tell us a little bit more about your story, how who you are, and how did you get into this?
Well, I'm 61 years of age, and 40 years ago, time flies. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but 40 years ago, I was 21, if my math is correct. And I was working a full-time job, but I couldn't see a future there for me. I didn't have very good prospects because I barely graduated high school. So I started looking around at different possibilities where I could become self-employed. I've always had an independent streak. And I started looking at my skills. Yeah, what could I do? I didn't have a lot of money in the bank, and so I recalled my father always used to side hustle to supplement the family income. His job was that of a janitor or caretaker at the public school system here.
Hmm.
And he always had these different side hustles. He would cut grass, he would shovel snow. But one of the things he also did was clean up litter outside a neighborhood shopping plaza. And he had taken me along with him once or twice. And I remembered that. And I thought, well, you know what? Let's test the market and see if there's anything to this. If I could scale this into a full-time business. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, when I got this idea, he had just recently passed away just a couple of months earlier.
Hmm.
But I had
That's
that
the
memory as,
story.
I was mourning my father, his passing, and I was remembering the good times. And one of the good times was helping him out, with these side hustles, and particularly cleaning the litter from this shopping plaza.
Hmm.
So, make a long story short, just started testing the market. And back in the day, the internet of the day was the Yellow Pages phone directory. So I just started going through property management company listings, real estate management, real estate development, and making some cold calls to find out if anyone would be interested in that service. And I guess three, four, five phone calls in, I got lucky. The property
Good.
manager who answered the phone said, "Brian, you know what? Very opportune time for you to call me. We're having a tough time finding somebody who will show up on a reliable basis and clean up the litter outside our property. Would you be interested?" And I
Hmm.
jumped at it. We started with three buildings. That was our first client. And that's really when everything started, the school of hard knocks. I had to learn, how to refine my elevator pitch, how to market my business, how everything, how to start a business,
Hmm.
the legal requirements, how to open up a business banking account. And I learned from doing. And
Exactly.
I started from a side hustle to a full-time one-man operation, and eventually I scaled it up to an operation where we've billed out over $700,000 just cleaning up litter from parking lots.
Awesome. Great story. Yeah. So you started, let's say, this side hustle in the 80s. Did they call it like a side hustle while you
No,
were working?
no, actually, that's a great question. No, I mean, nobody had ever heard of that term. It was, a spare time job, a part time job, or
Extra
maybe
cash.
even moonlighting. That's what you did, something after work. Moonlighting, and
To get a little bit of extra cash. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, great idea. So this is a simple low cost business, right? And a low cost opportunity. You mentioned you started this and occurred to you because you were working or your father took you once or twice with him or he was doing something similar, right? What made you
Yes.
think that this could be a vital business idea? Because
Well,
actually, to tell you the truth, now, if you nowadays, if you tell a young man like, "How about cleaning?" They most probably would say no. Why?
that's right. And you know what? That works out great for me and all of the people that get involved in this business because there's less competition. I will be the first to admit it's not a glamorous business. It's not the sexiest thing you can do, but it's the service that won't go away because people always litter. Somebody always has to provide the service, cleaning up. And my customers are real estate or property management companies, and they have to pay somebody to clean up their properties, in order for their properties to appreciate in value. And nobody likes to show up or go to a shopping plaza that's in a state of disrepair. The businesses, the tenants that are located in the properties, they expect certain standards in terms of the building maintenance to be done. And so, we've got great clients with, commercial property management companies.
Cool. So you mentioned like now, like people will always keep throwing things on the street.
Yeah, like in addition to the drink cups and the fast food wrappers and the cigarette butts that have always been tossed. Now in the last 16 months, or during the pandemic, people have been tossing their masks, their gloves, etc., in the parking lots. And the service we do, it's provided on foot. You simply walk the property, and in just a matter of minutes, clean the property. We don't go in and clean up an accumulation of material. It's a service that's done, 2 or 3 times, even daily, throughout the week, depending on the type of commercial property. And we use simple hand tools where we're not bending over, we're not physically touching or handling any of this litter material. We just sweep it into our litter collection tool, and it's as easy as that.
Yeah. Two things. First, through the 40 years now, I think, in business, right? And 81
Yeah.
started. Now it's 2021. So 40 years. Have you seen any increase in awareness regarding people not throwing things? Second
You
thing,
know,
second
yeah.
thing is like you basically doing it while walking 5-10 minutes to 30 minutes, maybe, by using your hand. So it's basically like taking a walk while cleaning.
Yeah, basically, well, you know what? I really haven't noticed really any difference in people's attitudes. As a matter of fact, when I was growing up, 40, 50 years ago, we used to see these public service commercials on television when we watched the morning cartoons, and there's things like, don't be a litter bug, and Smokey the Bear, put out your campfires. And unfortunately, you don't see, or at least I don't see, those public service announcements, commercials anywhere anymore. And I still see a lot of young people,
Careless,
middle-aged people,
careless.
out of convenience. They don't want this material in their vehicle, so they'll, after they've pulled through the parking lot, drive through, and consumed their lunch or their breakfast, they just find it more convenient to open their door and toss the material out into the parking lot. I guess they assume somebody else is going to clean it up, and they're
Yeah,
correct. But that's
that's
there's
good
great
business for you.
there's a lot of money to be
That's a good business for you, because
that's right.
actually, yeah, because when I was younger, I used to, be more careful and throw things into a can or something, or trash. And sometimes till today, if I something to throw, while driving, for example, I put it in the car, and when I reach
Yeah.
some place, I throw it into the. But sometimes when I'm walking on the street, you start thinking, do I keep holding it until I see a trash can or a garbage or whatever? You just throw it and get rid of it, and you're thinking there's some other guy will come pick it up.
Yeah, and I think that seems to be the consensus opinion, and so, like I say, there's always going to be a need for a service such as mine, or any kind of cleaning business. And
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they've said, fortunes have been made in the cleaning business with people starting out with very little money and very little education. There just needs to be the willingness to provide the service, and then of course you learn to provide that customer service and go beyond what you say you'll do, and your clients really appreciate that, and you build these relationships that can last 20, 30, almost 40 years. In our case, we've been doing some properties for almost as long, and with some of the same management clientele.
Cool, great, awesome. So, Brian, exactly what is the business model here? How do you find the type of businesses or places that you do work with?
Well, our service is different from the sweeping services. A lot of people think, well, how you compete with the street sweepers. Well, we don't, because it's an entirely different service. The street sweepers, obviously they go in and they can only navigate the parking lot. They don't go on the sidewalks or the landscape. But the main reason they're there is to clean up the grit or the sand or the dirt or any of that type of material that gets tracked or accumulates in the parking lot. Of course, they're going to sweep up any other material that's in their path. But our service is done on foot, where we walk the entire property and just sweep up this material into our litter collection tools. And the way the business works is it's very simple. You just compile a list of prospects, which are property management or real estate management companies, and you contact them. And you're not trying to sell them anything. You're just trying to find out, who should I send more information to? And the information you send to them is how your service will benefit them. You can get them cleaner, litter-free properties for less money, and they're going to want more information. They want to learn more. And you start the conversation by sending them some information, and you give them some time. They will either get back to you, or you follow up with them and just remind them that you sent them some information. Do they have more questions? But at the end of the day, what you're looking for is to get a couple of addresses from them, where you can go out and walk the property and come up with a price and get back to them and say, okay, I'm getting back to you with your request for a quote to service our property at such and such an address. And you get your foot in the door and clean the one property. The great thing with these clientele, managing properties, they don't manage one property. They manage a whole bunch. It could be a half dozen,
multiple complex. Yes,
exactly. They could have 20, 30 properties that they manage. And for different owners, and if they like your service at one or two, they're more than likely going to continue to give you more work.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes, especially for example, parking lots are mostly crowded with cars in the, like, let's say, middle of the day. So you mostly working at maybe early in the morning or like late at night, so there is no one to disturb you or anything like that, right?
Exactly. Just as the parking lots are power swept by these street sweepers after hours, where there's no vehicle interference, that's the same time of day that we provide our service, where we can walk the entire property without any vehicles, or the businesses open. Um, as a matter of fact, the key to our success, our business model has been successful, is because we give our clients a clean property by the beginning of the business day.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is
very
really what they're
important.
looking for.
Yeah, exactly. When someone is driving into somewhere, it's clean. It's different when someone driving into a place that is not clean. They're looking at it's sometimes the eye have a representation of things. So if the outside is not clean, they might think that the inside is not.
That's right. It's image, and you want your clients to look good in the community and with their tenants.
Yeah.
And so and that's really important, is when people, whether they be the business owners or employees, or even the shoppers or the people that shop these properties, when they pull into the property, it's important that the management company wants the public to see a nice, clean property.
Yeah, exactly. So you mentioned, like, you in order for you to get businesses, you basically pick up the phone and call
Well,
landlords and stuff like
there's
that.
that. There's
Mm.
that. You can do email too.
Yeah.
But I suggest. I've still been far more successful. When I'm looking,
Mm.
for more business, is just to reach out.
Mm.
With a simple phone call. Now,
Yeah.
nowadays, the
Do you do other
receptionist.
kind of marketing?
Well, the receptionist may say, you know what, Brian, here's the email address. Just send your information to Shelley in the office, and here's her email address. So we'll contact her that way by saying, sending her some more information, in an email. But yeah, we also will utilize, Google AdSense. I
Mm.
mean, you can use any of the other search engines where you can do some paid advertising. But a really good thing to do, I tell people when they start out, before they even design a website, claim your free search listings like Google My Business.
Mm.
And it's like a mini website. And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
allows your prospects to find you whenever they're doing a search.
Google, yes.
You will show up in the search, and then they will start contacting you and say, they'll say, well, I found you on Google, if in this case, and I need some more information. I need somebody to
Mm.
clean up the litter for my properties.
Mm, cool. So, do you do other kind of marketing, like, for example, flyers or something like that in the area, or have you done it before?
Well, we did when we started out. Everyone, and actually, junk mail. I mean, the people in the industry don't like it referred to that, but I mean, a lot of people, if you think about it, you still get a lot of direct mail in your
Yeah.
mail. It could be from automotive dealerships, realtors, pizza place. A lot of fast food companies will have their menus, their takeout delivery menus, delivered to the mailboxes, etc. And so it's still effective. It still works. But I caution people that you need to know exactly how up to date the information is, the contact person, because that's one of the cons of if you rent a mailing list
Mm,
to do a direct mail campaign. How up to date is are the people's names. So
yeah.
I find that I can compile my own list by making these phone calls and just getting a more accurate information. And then at a later date, once I've had that compiled my own list, to send information occasionally to the listings or to the list.
Mm, cool. So let's talk about a little bit about the money side of the business. How exactly do you make money, and what's, let's say, the hourly or monthly expected revenue of the business?
Okay, well, uh, you're compensated by your time, basically. The amount of time you put in cleaning a property, and some properties, depending on the size, and most of the properties we do are small to medium size, and so they're properties where you can very easily, walk the properties in a matter of minutes. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, so 45 minutes, maybe some larger ones, maybe just over an hour. And in my book, I show you how to price your service based on hourly rate. Every market throughout the country is a bit different. Some people are charging, $40 an hour. Some people $50 an hour. But you put together a price where you present to your prospect. I propose to service your property 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, at $375 a month. For a smaller property, or it could be $1,900 a month. For 5 day a week service, or whatever the case is. And then, once they agree to your proposal and they sign and date it, send it back to you, that becomes your contract, and you provide your service year round. It's not seasonal, because people, they don't. Litter is not seasonal. People litter throughout the year. So, if you've got cold weather, rainy weather, whatever, you still need to go out and provide the service. And you bill your clients once a month, typically at the end of the month, and those contracts can continue indefinitely
Yeah.
until such time as you decide you want to raise your prices, or your client wants to make some changes, or whatever the case is. But it's really quite that simple, and it's a great thing that with the contract work is you can count on it, the work and the money to come in month after month for several years, in many cases.
Especially you mentioned, like, for example, if one location, for example, took half an hour or an hour, and you have like two, three locations a day, so you're basically accumulating good money. So I mentioned earlier, like, you reach a six-figure business, right? So how is that? How that did happen?
Okay, well, when I first started out, obviously it was a side hustle, and within 3 or 4 months, I was making more money just doing it on the side as I was working full time at my job. So I gave up the job, and I continued to grow my business, and to the point where I was pretty busy and happy, just as a simple one-man operation.
Mm,
I had a lot of learning to do and everything, and then, but after a while, I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to see how much larger I could scale this business, because some of my clients were, contacting me saying, Brian, we need you to do more properties for us, and I didn't want to turn
cool.
down the work. So, I got other people to work for me, and we had people working for us part time on the weekends and throughout the week, and then some people are working for us full time. They gave up their jobs just as I did,
Mm.
and they just want to do the cleaning. They don't want to to do all the work that I do in terms of going out and finding customers and dealing, providing customer service. And it's a great arrangement. It works out for us because we get good people that enjoy doing the work, and so yeah, we've done up to $700,000 a year. Typically it's around 650, 630, 670 every year. But because these buildings are small or to mid-sized in nature, you can knock off 15 to 20 properties every day,
Mm.
because some properties are 10 minutes, maybe some are 12 minutes, like I said before, some could be 30, 45 minutes. And you learn from experience, where you can quickly get into these buildings and
Yeah,
get them done and then move on to the next one,
exactly.
and provide satisfactory results,
Mm.
to your clients' liking.
Mm, exactly. It's a good business model, especially with time. You will start figuring out, uh, especially if you have like a plan for places to go into, you will make things faster for yourself and for the client to have a clean place. Yeah. So what would you say if someone want to start this type of business?
Well, I've got 40 years experience, so I would tell them, first of all, consider buying my book, Cleanlots, America's Simplest Business. It's on my website, cleanlots.com.
Mm.
And, all of my experience is in that book. And I also offer free support.
Mm.
And I can do that because it works.
Mm.
I have a saying, if you work the business will work for you. I have no problem. I get a kick out of seeing people, start this business and become successes. And everyone's motivation is different. Some want to just do it part time.
Mm.
Some like to, continue to scale it to a successful, full time business, just as I have. And but yeah, you could do that, and by all means, check me out. Do some searches. Google Brian Winch and Google parking lot litter cleaning, parking lot litter removal, and there may be a couple of other options, but like I'm certainly, I think, the only guy, my clients have told me, or my customers of my book have told me, it's just incredible that I offer the free support,
Mm.
and
Cool.
it's my way of giving back. After 40 years, it's my way of giving back.
Yeah, great. So we mentioned, like, for example, the best time to work in this, like for example, early in the morning or late at night, because the places would be empty, right? So did you have some issues working late at night, or are there, I mean, the negatives or the positive of this job?
Yeah, well, I guess there's some negatives, depending on the parts of town, or certain areas, and of course, you know, you can always turn down certain work. I mean, you're self-employed, you're working. If you feel that a certain part of town is a bit too dangerous, you can turn down the work, or by simply saying you don't operate in that part of the city. But
Mm.
by and large, I mean, in 40 years, I've never, been mugged, robbed, or anything like that. You just have to use common sense, be aware of your surroundings. If someone comes up to you asking you for money, I mean, don't pull out your wallet. You just tell them that you don't carry cash at night because you're working late at night and you don't want to be robbed, and people will leave you alone.
Mm.
But I'm not saying or suggesting to people that you got to go out at midnight and and clean, and it could be dangerous or whatever. In some cases, people enjoy working, late evening hours, like with warehouse properties, where the businesses tend to be shut down, after 5 p.m. You can, service those properties in the evening hours, but a lot of the retail, where there might be fast food or 24/7 convenience stores, or whatever, you really should do those early in the mornings, like 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. So you do have a pretty wide window of opportunity to get the work done. And in most cases, when you're starting out part time, a lot of people will do this, early in the morning before they go to their full time jobs. And, it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's nice and peaceful. I mean, one of the pros, if you're doing this early in the morning, you're out there before the early morning commuter rush, and the city is just waking up, and you're not contending with a lot of, traffic on the streets, and everybody's at home. It's really peaceful, and you can quickly get in, clean these properties, and then move on. Either go home or else go to work if you've got a full-time job.
Yeah, it's a great actually idea to make extra cash, like we mentioned earlier. So, what would you say one takeaway for the people who would listen to this episode?
Well, I would tell people, like my opportunity isn't necessarily for you. It might not be. It's not for everyone, but find something that you would enjoy doing. Don't follow or chase the lure or promises of great wealth, because at the end of the day, you if you're going to stick with it, something you have to like, at the very least, what you're doing, because you're going to run into some obstacles, some problems where how do I get this, and you need to find solutions. You can always find solutions to problems in business or in life for that matter, but you have to be committed to what you're doing so that that you're successful.
Great. Especially like we mentioned, it's like a low cost startup. It doesn't literally cost that much, especially if you start up alone and you're doing it yourself. So there is no much investment in it. And it's a physical job, and also could be a little bit of sport at the same time.
Yeah, like you get, there's your morning workout. Instead of paying money to go to a gym and run around the track, you could do this, and you're making money doing it.
Yeah, great. So where can people get in touch with you, Brian?
You just go to my website at cleanlots.com, and there's a wealth of information there. There's a free report if you want to download, if you want to consider the opportunity. There's a 3-minute video that shows me actually cleaning a property with the hand tools that I use. So it'll give you a really good understanding and an idea as to what I'm doing and what I'm using when I'm cleaning up.
Cool, great, awesome. So cleanlots.com, that's your
That's
website.
right.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Brian, for being today here with me on the Success Grid podcast.
Thanks, Hussein.